and welcome. At least 10 people killed after suspected herdsmen invaded Tegbe village in Basa local government area of Plateau State. Federal government vows intensified action to crush banditry in the country following court order granting its request to declare bandits as terrorists. Court of Appeal in Lagos upholds final forfeiture order on the $40 million worth of jewelry seized from the former Minister of Petroleum, Mrs. Dezani Alison Madueke. And European Union asks member countries to halt travel to and from nations where a new variant of COVID-19 has been found. Plus, we have international news from our London studio.
On business news tonight, the global oil price benchmark Brent crude plunges by more than 10% as new COVID-19 variant sparks fears about slowdown in global demand amid increasing supply.
In sports news tonight, Nigeria's D Tigers lose to Cape Verde in group opener of the FIBA World Cup qualifiers.
And from Abuja, the Northeast Development Commission says paucity of funds, stalling work in proposed 18 mega educational institutions across the zone, urges the National Assembly to increase its statutory allocation.
Residents of Tegbe village of Miango district in Basa local government area have become the latest victims of attack by gunmen in Plateau State. No fewer than 10 persons, among whom are children, were killed with others sustaining injuries in the raid by suspected herdsmen who struck in the early hours of today. The National Publicity Secretary of Irigwe Development Association, Davison Mallison, states that apart from the 10 bodies recovered, some other persons are still missing following the invasion of the community, where houses were also razed. According to Mr. Mallison, 2 persons were killed in recent weeks by marauders who unleashed terror on the same community. In the meantime, Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State has condemned the latest attack, which he describes as the handiwork of criminals bent on instilling fear, pain and sorrow among the people with a view to destabilizing the state. The governor has also directed security agencies to deploy personnel and everything at their disposal to arrest those who carried out the attack, no matter how long it takes.
The situation presently there is very calm. Very, very calm, because on arrival there, I was able to commiserate with the community. I was equally in contact, and I equally met the village head of Tegbe village, Chief Azaya Ishe Inki, the vice president of Irigwe Youth Movement, and as well as Honorable William Wuje Ive, the leader of Basa Local Government Legislative Council. So they were there, and they promised me that there will not be any further problems in that place. And on the part of the police, we've been able to in place proper security measures with a view to forestalling any of such incident happening there again.
And in Zamfara State, the police have arrested the woman who allegedly specializes in supplying arms and ammunition to bandits in Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Kaduna, Katsina and Niger states. The 30-year-old female suspect was intercepted in October in Bungudu local government area with 991 rounds of AK-47 live ammunition on her way to deliver same to a bandit kingpin identified as Ado Alero, who is said to have been terrorizing Zamfara and neighboring states. In a related development, the Commissioner of Police in Zamfara State, Ayuba Elkana, explained that operations of police tactical operatives led to gun battles with bandits at their hideout, leaving several of them fatally injured, while others escaped with gunshot wounds. He added that 10 assorted AK-47 rifles with magazines containing 143 rounds of live ammunition were recovered from the various scenes of operation. He also confirmed the arrest of 6 male suspects for other crimes. And over in Kaduna State, the government has announced the restoration of telecommunication networks to all parts of the state more than a month after it was shut down on the orders of the State Security Council. The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, who made the announcement at a news conference today, explained that restoration of full services in the affected areas may be felt in a few days as the service providers mobilize to power and boost their transmission systems.
I am here to inform you that the Kaduna State government has contacted the relevant federal agencies to effect the immediate restoration of telecommunication services which were suspended in some local government areas. Security agencies had requested the shutdown in October 2021, among other measures to assist ongoing operations against armed bandits and other criminals. The security agencies have now notified the government that telecom services can be restored.
The Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, is asking graduating members of Course 5 Nigeria Army War College to channel their knowledge and skills to address the ongoing fight against insurgency and other threats to national security. The minister, who was represented by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Defense, made the call at the graduation of members of Course 5 Nigeria Army War College in Abuja.
You may please be seated.
The Chief of Army Staff, representative of the Minister of Defense and other top military officers attend the graduation ceremony of Course 5 of the Nigeria War College in Abuja. The Commandant of the Nigeria Army War College gives an overview of the training given to the officers.
In the last 35 weeks, these officers have undergone professional military education to prepare them for responsibilities in current and future operational leadership positions. They have also undertaken in-depth analysis of contemporary security issues and applied critical thinking skills to prefer solutions to some of the daunting security challenges facing our dear nation.
The 63 graduates then rise as they are jointly confirmed Fellows of the Nigeria Army War College.
By the powers vested in me by the governing board of this college, hereby confer on you, jointly and severally, the award of Fellow Army War College Nigeria.
The Minister of Defense, who is represented by the Ministry's Permanent Secretary, appeals to the graduating officers to deploy the knowledge from the operational level training they received in combating national insecurity.
Our nation is still faced with numerous threats such as armed banditry, vandalism, kidnapping, farmers, herders, conflicts, cultism, secessionist agitations, amongst others. It is my belief, therefore, that with continuity and sustainability of this level of training, we will develop the required capacity and skills in no distant time to be able to overcome present security challenges and those of the future.
The 60 graduates drawn from the Army, Navy, Air Force and the paramilitary in Nigeria, plus 3 officers from Niger Republic, Liberia and the Democratic Republic of Congo, are expected to add value to efforts to stabilize security in their various countries.
It appears the federal government is now ready to pronounce bandits operating in different parts of the country as terrorists. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, gave this indication today, stating that the government's determination is to tackle the menace and it remains unwavering. His comment follows the court order granting the AGF's request that bandit groups in the country be declared terrorist organizations. A statement from the AGF's office notes, by this declaration, the federal government of Nigeria has taken bold steps to deal ruthlessly with all terrorist groups and their sponsors. It adds that the Office of the Attorney General, in collaboration with relevant government agencies, is working assiduously to do the needful and take full advantage of this declaration. To the judiciary, the Court of Appeal sitting in Lagos has upheld the final forfeiture order on the $40 million worth of jewelry seized from the premises of the former Minister of Petroleum, Mrs. Dezani Alison Madueke. Justice Festus Obande, who read the judgment, held that there was no substance in Mrs. Alison Madueke's bid to overturn the lower court's order and subsequently dismissed the move by the former minister to challenge the forfeiture order. In July 2019, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission secured an order from Justice Nicholas Owiwo of the Federal High Court to forfeit the expensive items to the federal government. In his application for the final forfeiture order, the EFCC counsel, Mr. Rotimi Oyedepo, told the judge that the items were reasonably suspected to have been acquired with the proceeds of unlawful activities of the minister. Mrs. Alison Madueke, on her part, had accused the anti-graft agency of entering her apartment illegally and taking the items without any court order. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry today held its 2021 Presidential Policy Dialogue, which focused on renewable energy, climate change, increased involvement of females and youths in policymaking, and national assets development. According to the president of the LCCI, the government should capitalize on dialogues such as this to design and implement policies that will impact the people.
Permit me to present our list of priorities to the government at both the federal and the state levels towards creating an enabling environment in Nigeria. The government should focus on building a thriving and sustainable economy, enhancing social inclusion and poverty reduction, enlarging agricultural output for food security, attaining energy sufficiency in power and petroleum products, expanding transportation and other infrastructural development, business growth, entrepreneurship and industrialization, access to quality education, affordable health care, and productivity, building a system to fight corruption and improve governance, social cohesion, and security. I would like to underscore the need for regular engagements and communication on policy issues to ensure quality feedback and enrich the policy-making process.
The event was also attended by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who called for the scaling up of private sector involvement in national development.
This government has always emphasized that the private sector has a key role to play in our efforts to build a more resilient and competitive economy. Private companies are engaged in design, construction, logistics, and the financial components of national infrastructural projects. So just as we are fully conscious that good infrastructure is vital to enable the private sector to be efficient and competitive, we also see their role in all of the developments of infrastructure and in all the key areas of the economy. This is why we are now able to use the Abuja-Kaduna Railway, Lagos-Ibadan Railway, and talk about the near completion dates for the second Niger Bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the Abuja-Kano Expressway, and the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline. The infrastructure story will be taken up a notch higher when we get to the point where the Infraco, the 15 trillion naira infrastructure fund being set up in partnership again with the private sector, takes up fully. So it's of course important, to try and shape the future trajectory of our country. And we hope that the structures that help to articulate the medium-term plan will come out with a longer-term vision for 2050.
In part two, after the break, the National Association of Nigerian Students calls on the government to reverse its decision to remove fuel subsidy in 2022, says the decision will increase hardship in the country. That's in a moment. The John Scott. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. At least 10 people killed after suspected herdsmen invaded Tegbe village in Basa local government area of Plateau State. Federal government vows intensified action to crush banditry in the country following court order granting its request to declare bandits as terrorists. Court of Appeal in Lagos upholds final forfeiture order on the $40 million worth of jewelry seized from former Minister of Petroleum, Mrs. Dezani Alison Madueke. And European Union asks member countries to halt travel to and from nations where the new variant of COVID-19 has been found. More reactions have continued to trail the proposed removal of fuel subsidy in 2022 by the federal government. This time, the National Association of Nigerian Students is calling on the government to reverse its decision. Addressing journalists in Abuja, the president of the association, Ashefon Adedayo, says the federal government embarking on such a decision would further heighten hardship in the country. The association also questions the initiative of the government to give the sum of 5,000 naira to 40 million Nigerians as stipend to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal, noting that the government may not be able to give account of such money. Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Linda Akigbe. Linda.
Hello, Ijoma. Moving on to infrastructure development, the Northeast Development Commission is proposing to construct 18 mega educational institutions across the 6 states in the zone, but is lamenting the lack of funds to execute the project. Addressing the Northeast Caucus of the National Assembly, the Managing Director of the Commission, Mr. Mohammed Alkali, called on the National Assembly to review the NEDC Act to increase the Commission's statutory allocation.
The management of the Northeast Development Commission is holding this consultative meeting with the Northeast Caucus of the National Assembly aimed at getting their input into the region's Stabilization and Development Master Plan project.
This is going to give us an opportunity to have a first-hand information and first-hand briefing from the Commission since its establishment. It will also give us an opportunity to ask questions on all issues pertaining to the activities of the Commission. Not only to ask questions, but also to make inputs on how we feel the Commission will perform better.
The 10-year master plan is being executed by the Commission, and one issue that stands in the way of executing the plan is funding. The Commission currently gets a statutory allocation of 3% from the value-added tax receipt.
Once the master plan is finally approved as a document, it will contain a comprehensive roadmap for recovery, reconstruction, stabilization, peace building, and sustainable development of the Northeast.
I know the Commission has a lot of challenges enforcing the provisions of the Act establishing it, especially as it concerns access to the value-added tax share of the Commission, and then even access to ecological fund that the Commission is supposed to get money to execute its mandate.
In 2021, the Commission received a total budgetary allocation of 46.1 billion naira. As the meeting goes into a closed-door session, the Commission is hoping to secure the support of federal lawmakers to improve their funding.
Still on infrastructure, the 260-kilometer Sokoto-Tambuwal-Jega-Kontangora-Makera road has been commissioned by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami on behalf of President Buhari. In his address at the occasion, Mr. Malami says the rehabilitated road would help in easing the bottlenecks associated with the movement of goods and services in the benefiting communities. On his part, the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, said the road, which connects 3 states, will usher in a new lease of life for the residents of those states.
Gathered here at Kokobese in Kebbi State are federal and state government officials, road safety and security operatives, as well as traditional rulers.
Very good people of
The purpose of the gathering is to commission and hand over the Sokoto Tambuwal Jega Kotangura Mekera Road, rehabilitated by the federal government, to the benefiting communities. This road, which was first constructed in 1973 by the military administration of General Yakubu Gowon, connects Sokoto, Niger as well as Kebbi states, and the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says the federal government decided to rehabilitate it because of its strategic importance to residents of the areas.
All of this captures the story of what has changed, and change was the promise of this government from day one. So if you now drive on better roads in these parts of Nigeria, clearly change has come here. If farmers can get their goods to market quicker, clearly change has come.
On his part, the governor of Kebbi State salutes the federal government for completing the project despite the security and economic challenges which the nation is saddled with.
It is a mark of our appreciation for the great things Mr. President has been doing across the country. That is our mark of appreciation for the tremendous achievement in infrastructure, in the economy, and in security.
Before commissioning the road, the Attorney General of the Federation, who stood in for President Muhammadu Buhari at the event, speaks to the importance of the project.
It is a manifestation of resolve to provide more vista of job opportunities, thereby enhancing protective engagement of our teeming population and economic value addition in line with the federal government policy to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty.
After that, he leads other dignitaries to cut the tape, thereby officially declaring it open for use.
The Abdul Samad Rabiu initiative is supporting the Ogun State government with a sum of 2.5 billion naira towards the construction of a mother and child unit at the state-owned Olabisi Onabanjo Teaching Hospital, Shagamu. At a ceremony held at the governor's office in Abeokuta, the ASR initiative team says the gesture is as a result of the clear vision of the state government on healthcare development.
Governor Dakpa Abiodun walking into the boardroom alongside members of the State Executive Council, where they're hosting the team from the Abdul Samad Rabiu initiative, who are in the state to give a boost to their health sector. Their mission here is to give Ogun State its own share of the 2.5 billion naira donation for the construction of the mother and child units at the Olabisi Onabanjo Teaching Hospital, Shagamu. The fund is from the 19 billion naira set aside for health from the $100 million annual Africa Fund for Social Development, Healthcare and Education of the ASR initiative.
This tertiary health support system grant was specifically given to 4 states, one of which is Ogun State. And this is because the state has shown a clear vision to improve the lives of people through providing quality healthcare services at the tertiary level and across all the secondary and primary levels as well.
The idea for us is to have vaccines.
Governor Abiodun appreciates the gesture and promises that the funds will be put to good use.
This donation will be used for the purpose for which it was donated. We receive this with a lot of appreciation, hoping that as you see us judicially spend it, you also come back and give us even more.
Pleasure to present you this letter of award.
Since its inception, the Abdul Samad Rabiu initiative continues to pride itself as a dependable ally, supporting governments and institutions towards developing critical infrastructure for the good of the people.
The states, we sit with them and then they do what we call a needs assessment, and then they identify what they feel would be most impactful, and we see how this fits into the ASR framework for intervention. and then we agree on a project.
Today we've been awarded a letter for 2.5 billion for a mother and child unit, which will be located at the Olabisi Onabanjo Teaching Hospital, which is our tertiary center. The center will cater for mothers, including fetal medicine specialty, which is the care of babies in the womb before they are born. When they have abnormalities, you can detect them. It will probably be the first in Nigeria.
The center, according to them, will also serve as a training center for medical professionals who want to specialize in the area of fetal medicine.
When the News at 10 returns, global oil price benchmark Brent crude plunges as new COVID-19 variant sparks fears about slowdown in global demand amid increase in supply. That's in Business News. Join us again. Welcome back to the News at 10, coming to you live from Abuja. Strengthening the bilateral relationship between Nigeria and South Africa will require that both countries focus on cooperation, consultation and confidence building in areas of energy, socio-economic, trade and politics for the benefit of both countries. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Gabriel Aduda, stated this at the opening of the 10th Nigeria-South Africa Binational Commission in Abuja. The 6-day meeting is expected to host high-level deliberations between critical stakeholders from both countries, including the presidents of Nigeria and South Africa.
Nigeria and South Africa have a long-standing relation, which was born out of mutual respect and shared expectations. The natural relations between Nigeria and South Africa are both robust and cordial, underpinned by a shared history of Pan-Africanism and solidarity. It is important to appreciate that Nigeria and South Africa are two great countries on the Black African landscape, that though and through endowment of resources and geography have developed formidable economies and political clout, and thus are able to project power and influence within and beyond their sub-regions. The strategic location of Nigeria in its corner in the Gulf of Guinea conjures the image of the cock and trigger of a gun, while South Africa's occupation of the southern precincts of the continent projects the image of the barrel of the gun. The two big fish in the small African pond must inevitably collide in contention for influence on the African space. It is the ability and efforts to manage the convergences, the divergences, and other dynamics of bilateral and regional competitive coexistence within a consultative and cooperative framework that define Nigeria's relations with South Africa. Conscious cooperation must therefore interrogate national competition to provide leadership and direction for the African gun to fire decisively.
That's all from Abuja. Now to Teniola for Business News.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Linda. Global oil prices have fallen to their lowest levels so far this year on renewed concerns of a slowdown in demand following the discovery of a more transmissible variant of COVID-19. The price of international crude benchmark, that's the Brent, plunged by 10.7% to $72.89 per barrel as at 9:30 p.m. local time today, while its contemporary, the US WTI crude, tumbled by 13.06% to $68.17 per barrel amid looming increase in global supply. Analysts say a decrease in travel and potential new lockdowns could affect oil demand and stifle global economic recovery. Meanwhile, OPEC and its oil-producing allies are set to meet on December the 2nd to discuss production policy for January and the later part of 2022. And on the home front, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve sustained its decline as the country's external buffers fell by 61.05 million week on week to $41.33 billion as at November the 24th. The decline, which is attributed to lack of forex inflow, comes as the central bank continues its intervention at the foreign exchange market in efforts aimed at sustaining dollar liquidity for legitimate end users. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund says slow forex reforms and uncertainties regarding the ability to repatriate foreign funds have discouraged new capital inflows. Wires and cables play a vital role in every aspect of infrastructural growth in any country. For Coleman Technical Industries Limited, makers of Coleman wires and cables, known as a leading cable manufacturer and distributor in Nigeria, building for the future is next on the agenda as the company announces a 50 billion naira bond issuance.
Wires and cables play a vital role in every aspect of infrastructural growth in any country. For Coleman Technical Industries Limited, makers of Coleman wires and cables, a leading cable manufacturer and distributor in Nigeria, building for the future is next on the agenda as the company announces a 50 billion naira bond issuance.
Coleman Technical Industries Limited, by virtue of this transaction, is now positioned to deliver value to its key stakeholders in terms of quality, pricing, and timely delivery.
The investment for everybody that is looking into Coleman today, it's a game changer to see a first-time rated company, family-run business, we're second generation, and it's a journey that we believe we will make Nigeria proud.
With over 30 main products across the power, control and communication cable categories and an extensive distribution network across Nigeria and some parts of West Africa, funding is key to pushing the limits.
Establishing a 50 billion program helps the company increase the mix of capital that it has access to. One of the good things about this is that at any time within the next 3 years, Coleman is able to access the capital markets at obviously at a preferred interest rate.
Now it's time to put pen to paper for all parties involved. Beyond the bond issuance, the company has hit another milestone.
The fiber optic cable plant, which is about 90% completed, is the biggest and the only one in West Africa currently today, and they are partnering with Collins, the biggest fiber optic manufacturer in the world.
And with a BBB rating by Augusto & Co. and a stable outlook for the future, Coleman Wires and Cables operates 3 factories located in Ikotun, Arepo and Shagamu, and has an annual installed production capacity of 15,000 metric tons of copper and 18,000 metric tons of aluminium conductors.
And after a 3-day string of losses, the domestic stock market ends the week with nearly 0.5% rebound in value and index performance, as some investors take advantage of the recent drop in the price of some high-value equities. Will Ibong tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The Santa Claus rally may not be here yet, but the NGX did get a respite from sell-offs to close the week. With 104 billion naira added to the market value, the benchmark performance index moved back to positive territory by 0.46%. Now, this recovery on the market value rolled on the back of Airtel Africa, which gained 3.83% today and making up for the sluggish sessions we've had this week. However, banking stocks dominated top trades today, contributing over 136 million units of shares to 305.32 million overall volume of transactions, while total value fell to 3.57 billion naira. Now let's check out the high-performing stocks. Royal Exchange and ABC Transport clawed out fantastic gains. Their share prices increased by 10% each. And on the flip side, UPDC Real Estate Investment Trust stumbled by 9.82%, leading the losers for today. Now, it's 2 days left to the end of November. Let's hope the final days consolidate today's recovery. And that's the stock market report. And Willie Bung is back to you.
And that's business news tonight. It's back to Ijeoma for the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks a lot, Teniola. Still ahead on the news at 10, European Union asks member countries to halt travel to and from nations where a new variant of COVID-19 has been found. And more international news from our London studio. Do join us again. Welcome back. The World Health Organization has named the new COVID variant Omicron and says it's a variant of concern. The WHO says preliminary evidence suggests that Omicron carries a higher risk of reinfection than other variants. Earlier, the EU agreed to impose an emergency flight ban on countries in southern Africa, joining a growing list of countries to impose travel restrictions. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. More countries are tightening their travel restrictions after a new coronavirus variant was identified in South Africa earlier this week.
I wish to stress that we're working quickly and we're working with a high degree of uncertainty.
Britain's Health Minister Sajid Javid told Parliament that it was now highly likely that a new coronavirus variant had spread beyond South Africa's borders. The UK, Singapore and Japan are among those rushing in stricter quarantine measures and banning flights from South Africa and neighbouring countries. The EU is proposing to ban flights from the region across the whole bloc. Emmanuel Macron has reacted angrily to Boris Johnson's public call for France to take back migrants who reach the UK.
Je dis au nom du gouvernement français que c'est une lettre.
Responding to a letter written by the Prime Minister, this French government spokesman accused Mr Johnson of double talk for saying something different to Mr Macron privately.
I'd like to make a statement about the tragic drownings.
The diplomatic row erupted after France withdrew a summit invitation to Home Secretary Priti Patel. 27 people drowned trying to cross the Channel to England on Wednesday. Belgium, France, the Netherlands, Germany and the European Commission are all due to attend Sunday's talks in Calais to try to deal with the recent surge in crossings. Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko has called on Germany to take asylum seekers stranded at the border with Poland as he visited a warehouse sheltering migrants. In his first public appearance at the border since the start of the crisis, Lukashenko visited a facility providing migrants with food and spoke to Red Cross workers at the camp. The European Union has accused Belarus of flying in thousands of people from the Middle East and pushing them to cross into the bloc in retaliation for EU sanctions, something Belarus denies. A Royal Australian Air Force aircraft has arrived in Honiara, the capital of the Solomon Islands, following 3 days of violent protests in the South Pacific island nation. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison had accepted a request from the Solomon Islands Prime Minister for help a day earlier. Witnesses said Australian police had begun taking control of hotspots after local authorities had struggled to prevent protesters from burning buildings and widespread looting. Riot police in Turkey and Mexico have fired tear gas and smoke bombs at protesters who are calling for an end to violence against women. It comes as thousands of women across Latin America demonstrated in the streets of major cities to demand their governments put an end to gender-based violence. To mark the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, protests in the capitals of Argentina, Chile, Venezuela and the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro saw women of all ages demanding their right to safer lives. Demonstrations are being staged at Amazon buildings in the UK, US and Europe on Black Friday, Amazon's busiest day of the year. An international coalition of unions, equality and environmental groups called Make Amazon Pay is staging a day of action demanding concessions. The movement is demanding Amazon make changes to its business, including improved pay, an end to employee surveillance and union engagement. In an unrelated separate protest, the Extinction Rebellion Environment Group has blocked the entrances to Amazon distribution centres across the UK. Tens of thousands of farmers across India have gathered to mark the one-year anniversary of sustained demonstrations against 3 farm laws introduced last year. Seeking to end the longest-running farmers' protest that galvanised growers across the country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi last week bowed to the protesters' demand to repeal the controversial laws introduced in September last year. Farmers celebrated the retreat, but said the protest would only be called off when Parliament repealed the laws and the government promised legislation that would ensure state-set minimum support prices for all produce, not just rice and wheat. And finally, Cambodian conservationists have released 51 critically endangered royal turtles back into the wild. It's part of a drive to bolster a species thought to be extinct 2 decades ago. The 31 females and 20 males, between 6 and 15 years old, have been implanted with a microchip and have an acoustic transmitter attached to their shells to monitor their movements. The royal turtle was designated Cambodia's national reptile in 2005. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Nigeria's senior men's national basketball team, the Tigers, have lost their opening game of the FIBA World Cup qualifiers in Angola. The team, led by player Julius Nwosu, lost by 79 to 71 points against Cape Verde in Group A. Well, the Tigers will look to rebound from the defeat when they face Mali on Saturday. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has accused those opposed to altering the frequency of the FIFA World Cup to every 2 years of being scared of change and wanting to keep their elevated status in the game. Infantino shared his thoughts at the Confederation of African Football Congress in Cairo, where African countries unanimously voted for a resolution backing his plan to change the hosting of the World Cup to every 2 years.
Those who are against are those who are at the top. It happens in every sector of life. When there are reforms and changes, those who are at the top, they don't want anything to change because they are at the top. And they are afraid, maybe, that if something changes, their leadership position is at risk. We understand that. But at the same time, we cannot close the door. We need to keep the door open.
Meanwhile, CAF President Patrice Motsepe says the football governing body will follow science when it comes to the new COVID variant and the upcoming African Nations Cup to be held in Cameroon in January next year. Motsepe admits that it is too early to know whether African Cup of Nations will be affected.
The important thing is that it is being assessed, it is being evaluated. Some of the European countries have responded by red listing some countries. So we will be guided by the science, we will be guided by the findings, and we thought that the world was moving in the right direction and that progress was being made concerning opening up. Many countries have vaccinated, although in Africa the vaccination process can really do with a huge sense of urgency.
That's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Back to you, Joma, for the round.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. At least 10 people were killed today after suspected herdsmen invaded Tegbe village in Basa local government area of Plateau State. It was the latest of several attacks that had been carried out in the area in recent times. Also today, a court in Abuja granted an application by the Attorney General of the Federation to declare bandit groups as terrorists, prompting the federal government to vow intensified action to crush banditry in the country. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks so much for staying with us. I'm Ichoma Onyato. You have a great weekend. Good night.